I'm Stephanie Allensworth, and this is Real People. And thanks for joining us here today. This is our debut show, so very happy to be here and very happy to have you all watching today. Today, our topic is going to be addiction. And we're here talking with Cristy Winters. And Cristy has been a bit of a hero to me because she has managed to kick a major addiction that's taken down loads of people these days, many, many deaths coming from the pharmaceutical addictions. And we are going to have a chat about what got Cristy clean. Maybe that's what we'll call this show. What got Cristy clean? How did you do that? How did you manage to go from being in such pain and suffering and not even knowing, how to get out of this basic pit that you were in, to kicking an addiction that so many people are not only dying from, but find it very, very difficult to work on. It's not an easy thing. So if you would want, just tell us a little bit of your story and how this all started, what started you on the Oxycodone, and the path you took to get out of it. Okay.
You want me to start from the very beginning?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
So it was a few years ago. I was, I'll go even further back. I had gastric bypass surgery done, and that caused my body to change very dramatically and fast because I lost so much weight so fast that it affected my skeleton and the way my body moved and my muscles and everything. They just weren't in line with each other. So I was working out and I was trying to better myself and get healthy and build up the muscles, and I started training for a marathon, and I decided to go and do a 4K or 5K, and I went out and I started running, and somewhere along the way I felt a snap in my hip, and I knew that it wasn't good, but I kept on going for a while, and then I walked the rest of the way, and from then I went, and it just progressed, got worse, and I started going to the doctor, and they give me, a little bit of pain meds here and there to just, see if it helped, it'd go away on its own. Mm-hmm. And it didn't go away on its own, and then they started sending me to specialists, and I would continue to go to different doctors, and they would all say I had, back problems. Chronic pain was like the death sentence to me at that point when they said, you have chronic pain. I'm like, what does that actually mean? What does chronic pain mean? Does that mean I'm going to be terminally destitute to this pain for the rest of my life? And I'm
thinking that's what it means.
That is what it meant. And I was, and then that puts some toll on you emotionally because you're like, well, how am I going to live through this for the rest of my life? So then they introduce you to treatments and physical therapy, and once that doesn't work, then they start to send you to other doctors, and then they finally get you to the pain clinic. And the pain clinic, they also try the whole physical therapy, all the alternative medicines, everything they can think of, and the last resort for them is putting you on opiates. Mm-hmm. And
so that was the last resort. That surprises me. And excuse the irony of the whole thing, but you do a gastric bypass to get healthy, and it ends up taking you on this horrible path where you not only hurt your back, but end up with an addiction problem that, takes you, 2 years, 3 years to tackle? Years. Yeah. But I'm so proud of you. But let's keep going.
Yep. So they started me at a low dose. I was only on 2.5 milligrams 4 times a day of Oxycodone, and I was doing just fine. I mean, the pain was subsiding. I felt fine, and then I started to feel more pain. So then they increased my dosages, and it got to the point where I was on so much of it that I lost myself. I lost everything, and from the time that I started taking Oxy till the time I got off, I've went through so many life changes, and it's all because my life was dictated around pain and making sure I had those pills every 4 to 6 hours.
Well, and if I remember correctly, when we first started talking about this, you were having trouble with your mental capacity. You were worried that you were going to lose all of your memory and that you would become like this blank slate.
Correct.
And I totally remember, reaching out. You even had a campaign going, a Fund Me campaign to help pay for, get your medical bills taken care of because they were piling up so bad. And then we got together and we started doing some things and talking to other more holistic practitioners. So you want to go into a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I started getting other alternatives, especially a massage therapy helped me out a lot.
Love massage.
And just that energy, the energy work that you get from massage therapy is amazing. We can elaborate on that another time, but then I was getting. They tried acupuncture, but that wasn't for me. For some reason,
needles and me don't get on it.
Well, I also have another condition, which is neuropathy, which I found out later on during this whole process that I have. So that ended up being another thing. We can talk about that, but I forgot my train of thoughts. Where were we at?
Holistic. When we turned to the holistic side of things, which was massage and acupuncture, but obviously not for you. Right. So,
and also trying different essential oils was a huge one. That opened me up to being able to tolerate the pain when the oxy started to wear off. I could put that oil on me, or I could take it internally, and it helped me throughout that time period. So those were also really good. I highly recommend, and essential oils the same.
Well, I believe in them too. So
yes, and that therapy alone, it opened my eyes to other things, and I'll say it like this. I started smoking marijuana because I thought that was something that I needed to do, because I was to the point where the oxycodone wasn't doing its job like I thought it was going to do, and so I would take that with the oxycodone, and bad idea.
Well,
don't ever mix them together.
Yeah, because alcohol, from what I was reading, because I did read up on some stats here, you could potentially just die from a regular dose of oxy and drinking alcohol at the same time. Yep. So I think that was probably the least of the dangerous things that you could have done. So, but I imagine it made some mental issues worse.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Because it's not the same thing as the medical marijuana that they have today, right?
Yeah, it's the
early version.
Yes,
maybe.
The earlier version. But that's another thing is I'm on medical marijuana. It was a process from getting off of the oxycodone to transitioning into the medical marijuana, and that's something that I'm very happy that I'm able to be on, because it definitely helps me sleep at night, and it helps me out throughout the day when I just can't sit any longer and I know I got to move around, and so that helps me to be able to get through my day at work also. Right.
Now you had to get off the oxy completely before they would give you the go for the medical marijuana, correct?
Yes.
Because they would not condone doing both at the same time. So,
correct.
And tell us how hard that was for you, because I know I was there with you, and I know that was a very, very fearful thing for you to say, what do you mean, no, none? I can't have any, because it was like a crutch, and you were hanging onto that crutch. And
well, so it was a vicious cycle for being on oxycodone, because you had to go to the pain clinic once every 90 days and sit there and tell them your story over and over again. How sad you are, how much pain you're in, just so you could get your refill. And it was you felt really icky going to those places.
Well, yeah, but they treat you like an addict.
Yes, and and the thing is that,
and they've made the addict.
when you're on these pills and you're being prescribed them, you don't think of it as an addiction.
No,
so every time someone says that I'm an addict, I just would get so upset and like, I'm not addicted to them like you think I am.
Yeah, because the doctor gave them to you. So
yes.
so it's it's the thing to do, right? This is the right thing. I'm being prescribed by a doctor.
Yeah, this is what I have to do to survive. This is what I've been given by a professional who says that this is your last resort, this is all we can do for you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's pretty sad at that point.
Right.
It really is,
right.
because you just don't know what to do. And
But you knew you had to get off of it.
yes.
Because it was vicious, and you know, you end up doing more and more and more and more and more, and when does it stop? It never stops. So you started backing down, right? You started cutting it in half and taking half your doses, but still that thought to be completely off of it scared the crud out of you.
Yeah, I had a very bad emotional break when I decided that they were too much for me to continue on, because I lost so much of my life from oxycodone. I lost my family, friends, relationships. You know, it's endless. I mean, careers. You make so many people upset. You just move on because you're used to doing it over and over again.
Because that's part of the side effects of it, right? From what I was reading up on today, that those are all symptoms of being just side effects, basically, from being on the oxy.
Yep.
So, you know, that's another compounding factor, that besides the pain, besides the memory loss, besides everything else that was going on, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
But you did it.
It was very hard because the transition off of it, I didn't realize that I was going through withdrawals, because I thought that if I just kept slowly cutting my own doses down to the point where I could just get off of them, I'd be fine. But my problem is I wasn't doing it, I wasn't being monitored doing it, and it was making my mind go crazy, and my body was physically going through, what are you doing to me all the time?
Right.
And then I would just take more. All of a sudden, I just take twice my dose because I was in so much pain, and then it would knock everything off because my tolerance had went down.
Yeah.
And then I would get crazy in my mind, and then, you know,
get mad at people and
bad.
have outbursts, and you know, and then you feel guilty about that. So everything just keeps spiraling and spiraling and spiraling.
It's constant.
So, yeah.
And so finally, after ending up in the hospital from taking too much drugs and not taking care of myself, I was so dehydrated. I wasn't eating because I didn't need to eat, because oxycodone makes your appetite go away, and it's not a good thing. Trust me, it's not a good thing to have your appetite go away. I'm half the size I was 6 months ago.
Yeah, I know.
And it's been a constant struggle just to get off of them, and then I did it.
You did it. You did it.
I did it.
And I am so proud of you. I'm going to cry because I'm so proud of you.
I knew I had to do it, because if I didn't do it, I would be on the streets looking for it, or I would be shooting up with heroin, because that was my gateway. That I knew that was what was coming. If I couldn't get off of these, I probably would be dead right now, or a junkie.
Yeah.
And that's really hard for me to think about, because I'm a totally different person than that.
You're way too pretty to be a junkie.
Thank you.
But quite honestly, oxy is heroin. I mean, it's heroin in pill form. So they're giving you heroin. You know, they call them opioids, but what is heroin? It's an opioid. So you know, you inspire me, because you know, it's really hard to kick anything. It's hard to kick a coffee habit, cigarettes, alcohol. I mean, name it, gambling, and you, in my opinion, honey, this is one of the hardest things a person could do, and you did it.
There's one thing I need to make sure that everyone understands who has chronic pain, that is on these nasty, evil drugs, no matter which one you're on. It's masking your pain. It's not your pain. Once you get off of these things, you realize that the oxycodone or whatever you're on was causing the pain.
Well,
It continues to trick your brain to think you're in pain all the time. You get off of these pills, you're still in pain, but you have control over this pain. This pain is not the same anymore. You can take a Tylenol now, and it helps with the pain. And I don't take muscle relaxers. All I do is I take the marijuana to help me sleep at night, because I still have muscle spasms. But for the most part, I mean, I can live with it.
So you're saying the oxy was basically tricking your body into thinking that you were in more pain than you actually were.
Absolutely. I'm so mad at those doctors for not realizing this and not getting people in chronic pain off of these drugs, because it's so important that people understand that I can't walk every day and you're struggling to walk and you're struggling to move your neck or whatever it is, just get off those stupid drugs.
Yeah.
You will not have pain anymore. I wish I could just tell this to people and make them understand it as much as I understand it now.
Right.
Because I would never believe them. I wouldn't believe me.
Well, I think that they're actually, when I went to the pain clinic with you one day, and I really got the feeling that they were on a mission now to start weaning people off of these drugs and doing something else. Maybe there's a realization now that it's been, woo, take the drugs, take the drugs. I mean, I don't know, I don't want to, be the conspiracy theorist, but I am. Big Pharma has a way of manipulating people and manipulating doctors and clinics into thinking that, this is a good thing. So it's good for them, but it's not good for anybody else. And there's so many people that, it was causing break-ins to pharmacies. People would go in and rob the pharmacies of all their Oxy. They would selling them on the streets just like regular street drugs. There's a whole other world that people need to be aware of. And that's why I really wanted you on this show, so that you can show people that there is another way. There is another way, and don't let the drug trick you. Right. Don't let it trick you, because it's the little devil in there saying, you need more, you need more. And you don't need more, you need none. And then ice bags, Tylenol, anything else, the medical marijuana, anything that works, but not the drug.
Absolutely.
Not the drug. Yeah.
And I know that there are going to be people out there that are going to just think that I'm crazy because I just did it and got off it. But chronic pain is all in your head. It is. Yeah. It's all in your head. And it's hard for anyone they're going to think I'm crazy because I'm saying it really is all in your head. That pain that you have, you can get rid of it. You can.
I completely agree. Absolutely. There's so many other ways. Like you brought up massage therapy. I had a car accident, hurt my lower back, and I didn't want to take, if you look in my freezer right now, I have a multitude of different size ice bags because that was my go-to. Every time I hurt, I put an ice bag on it, and that helped a lot, but my saving grace was really massage therapy. I had to pay out of pocket for it because insurance companies won't pay for it, but it worked for me. Well, not 100%, because I still have, aches and pains too, but not like I had because
Right. And also taking care of yourself. I mean, when you're on oxycodone, or I should say any opiates, any painkillers in general, you lose your appetite. You don't take care of yourself because after a while you feel good. You think you're fine, but you're not getting the nutrients. You're not drinking your water. You're not eating. I mean, all these
you're
things
thinking is, I need another pill.
And that's huge too. Is nutrition is such a big part of this addiction too. Most of the people that you'll see who have opiates and heroin, they are thin, they're frail. It's hard to have an appetite.
I'm here in the office of Gale Pearson, one of the top women attorneys in the state of Minnesota. And Gale, how did we get here? How did we get in this crisis?
Well, I've been practicing pharmaceutical litigation for about 25 years now, and just started out understanding the concept of what a pharmaceutical company needs to do in order to get their drug approved, and saw that it based in large part on clinical trials that they were presenting to the FDA. The FDA does not do their own testing. They rely on the pharmaceutical company to be truthful to them. And one of the background skills I had was actually in the laboratory. So I'm a clinical laboratory scientist, also a board-certified clinical laboratory scientist. So they used to put in front of me the clinical trials, and my job was to analyze where the bias was. Where were the problems? Where was the deception? And I got very good at it, and I found that there were some parameters. If you have a clinical trial funded by, for instance, a pharmaceutical company, testing its own drug, you have about 8 times more likely to have favorable results in favor of the pharmaceutical companies. There are different types of manipulations where they might cut off certain type of participants in the clinical trial so they don't actually see the bad effects. They might shorten a clinical trial to, say, 12 weeks. So anything that happens during that period of time, the pharmaceutical companies will pick up. After that time, they miss, and it doesn't become part of the study that they provide to the FDA. So that was what I started with, and it became very easy when we've got pharmaceutical companies that really focus on money and profit and greed. There's such a stigma associated with addiction. And if that's the only conversation, we're never going to get to the solution. And that brought me easily into the arena of the opioids, which really, again, started by greed. It started with manipulation from the pharmaceutical companies telling doctors these drugs are not addictive, or telling doctors you can monitor away addiction, or telling doctors these are great ways to treat pain. There are a very large group of attorneys across the country that are committed to working together to fight this opioid crisis. So we've got attorneys in West Virginia, which, as you know, is a hot spot for opioid problems, in Vermont, in California, in Washington, in Texas, to try to hold the pharmaceutical companies and the distributors of the opioid medication accountable. What we've done is we've represented different segments of society, kind of plugging up the dam of all of the problems. We represent police officers, we represent firemen, we represent municipalities, we represent individuals who have suffered from being addicted. We represent states that are really spending a lot of money handling this opioid epidemic. And we've consolidated those efforts in a court in Ohio, and it's called an MDL, or multi-district litigation, which really permits municipalities from all over the country to come and have their case heard in one court. The defendants in this case range from the pharmaceutical companies, they also all of the distributors that distribute the opioid medication, and in some instances the physicians that are overprescribing the medication, despite them finally learning that this is not appropriate practice.
So how did we get here?
Well, pharmaceutical companies spend a great deal of time and investment into selling their product, not only on the television, but directly to doctors and physicians. One of the ways they do it is they'll create a disease that their medication will treat. And this happened somewhat in the opioid epidemic, where the conversation became pain is the fifth vital sign. So when a person appeared in the emergency room, we all know doctors took their pulse, their blood pressure, their blood, checked their respiration. And what the conversation that the pharmaceutical company pushed and wanted to have happen is that we have now a fifth vital sign, and that was pain. And some physicians were absolutely duped by the pharmaceutical companies, who spend a tremendous amount of money sending individuals into doctors' offices, convincing them that a particular drug is the solution to all their problems. There are other physicians, however, that are very much aware of the addictive nature, but they found a cash cow in prescribing medication to individuals regardless of whether that person's addictive. Some of those doctors have faced criminal prosecutions in New York and Texas and across the country, and those practices and those physicians are also part of this case. So we are trying to plug all of the holes in the dam, from the pharmaceutical companies to the bad prescribers to pharmacies. They very much are aware if there is overprescribing being done or inappropriate prescribing practices. So we're trying to take them all on. Right now, to treat the opioid epidemic, we have emergency responders that need medication to counteract an overdose situation. We've got hospitals that are providing care to individuals that have overdosed, or babies that are born to addicted mothers. In the NICU, for instance, there are some communities in West Virginia where the hospital NICU unit, which is the neonatal intensive care unit, are treating mothers and babies addicted to opioids, and that cost to that hospital has become so burdensome they now can't provide care to individuals who are not affected by opioids. So the burden on society is more than just us or an individual who might be addicted to opioids. It the cost goes to our emergency responders, our hospitals, our police officers, our firefighters who are also facing head-on this epidemic, and we need their support. And the only way that the pharmaceutical company is going to be inclined to do something is in the court of law, because they have been, they had a chance to do the right thing on their own, and they did not. Right now, our only voice is through the court system, and we need to be vigilant and strong.
I know you already said this, but if you had any message for the people that are out there that want to get off Oxy as well, what's your recommendation? Would you just say do what you did? Because I don't think everybody is as strong as you. You know, I think what you did took an incredible amount of wherewithal to just do it. But there's not, you know, people just don't have the same strength. You know,
Well,
not everybody's at the same level.
Yeah.
So, well, how would you recommend people?
Well, I think that the best way to do it is to go to who you're getting it from, your doctor, and tell them that, you know, I don't want to be like this forever. How do I get off these? Because doctors are more aware now than they were before. I mean, they're getting chopped. The drugs are getting chopped. They're not able to prescribe them as much anymore. So, I mean, let the people that actually need them have them.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. And who really needs them at this point, right?
I really don't know, actually,
because they shouldn't even be giving them to the elderly. They say, oh, they give them to the elderly because they're in pain. Well, those are the worst people to give it to because they're already feeble and they're not as active. I mean, the drug just sits in their body and it stays. You know? So, and it makes it actually worse for them because then they have a greater fall risk.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, grandma's gone nuts. Well, grandma's on Oxy. So just go to your doctor. That's what you're going to recommend?
I would recommend that. And, you know, our whole lives are now social media. I mean, you can find so many support groups out there that will support you in this decision, because right now you go out there and there's a lot of them saying, well, I need the pills, I need the pills, I need the pills. But if you find the group of people who want to be off of them and are trying and are succeeding and are there to support you, that's the place to go.
I'd like to thank Cristy for being here with us today and telling us her powerful story. Come back next week when we visit with L.A. Nick, the self-proclaimed mayor of downtown Minneapolis, at night. Until then, this has been Real People with Stephanie Allensworth. Bye now.